really wanting to do this for a career. I really do believe that it is a hard industry, but if you know you're built for it, you will be just fine. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about, is journalism school worth it? What it's like going to an HBCU. I get tons of questions on how I built my media brand, how I actually started interviewing really big celebrities in college, and how I built my brand outside of college, balancing social life in school, and just overall, how the hell do I get into communications and build my own brand and all those things? I get so many questions on it. I am now post-grad. It's been actually 9 months, and I cannot believe it's been 9 months already. It feels like yesterday that I transferred to Hampton and built my brand and all that. But if you're new here, I gotta give you a little bit of background on my journey and my story, just so you can get a gist of who I am and why all of this is relevant and how you can learn from me. I always knew that I wanted to be a storyteller and that I wanted to be on camera and that I wanted to be in the spotlight and do all these things and talk to talent, and of course just do what I do best. And I feel like that was my natural gift. Like, I was never a math person. I was pretty good in science, but I knew my calling was most definitely communications. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of background on me. I decided to go to an HBCU halfway through. So I was a transfer student. I got my associate's degree close to home so I could save money and also get my feet wet into broadcasting and journalism and all that stuff. So I had a radio show. I started out with that, and I started doing anchoring things at our local LCTV station at my college. So then I decided it's time for me to go. I mean, the school was so small. I think it was great for me starting out because I graduated at 17. So I do highly recommend that if you can save money before you go to a bigger university. It worked for me. It might not work for you, but it really did help me save way more money than going to, you know, my school all 4 years. So I definitely don't regret that, but I definitely am happy that I left when I did, because the school could not survive the pandemic, so they closed down. And it was crazy because I got my degree literally the year after they closed. So it's permanently closed now. You can't even go there anymore. So it's insane how God works and how things just align how they're supposed to. So boom, 2021. I get accepted to Hampton University, and I was deciding during the pandemic which school was best for me. Now, I never got to visit. I always knew I wanted to go to an HBCU way early on, but like I said, I wasn't ready and I was trying to save my coin. So I literally called both and I was just like, Hampton, like, what's good? Like, are you gonna accept my credits? And then I was like, Howard, like, Howard, what's good? Are you gonna accept my credits? And literally, Hampton just was the one. I mean, they were on top of everything with me. They treated me like family, even over the phone. I just felt like they were the one, and they had housing, no shade to Howard, but they didn't have their stuff together at the time, so I could not go there. So packed my bags up and left my small town and decided to go to VA. So I got accepted and I went to school from 2021 to 2023 at Hampton. Best decision I ever made, period, point blank. So the journalism school that you attend when you go to Hampton is the Scripps Howard School of Journalism. It's a fairly newer school and newer building compared to the other schools and buildings at Hampton's campus, but I fell in love like the first day. Once I got accepted there, I was connecting on Instagram because I didn't know anybody, obviously. So they have bigs and littles, so I kind of developed a big that way through the journalism school, and she basically ran that whole school and she showed me around, and I was like ready. I'm like, this is so perfect, and everybody was so talented. So I kind of felt like, I kid you not, when I got to Hampton, I felt like Victoria Justice when she was walking around Hollywood Arts and she was seeing everybody do all kind of stuff, and I was just like, oh. Like, I was so overwhelmed with so much Black excellence, and I was just so happy to be there. And once I got settled in, I just was attacking everything from day one. So media is a very competitive industry. So you have to really, really want this, especially if you want to be on camera talent. Now, behind the scenes and doing PR and just being in the media industry period is different depending on what lane you're trying to get into. For me personally, I always wanted to be the talent. I'm talent. So I wanted to be a broadcast journalist in front of the camera, interviewing people, going to lavish events and telling real authentic stories and just being a voice, right? So I knew all this going in. I had it planned out. So a lot of my problems were out the door. I knew what I wanted and I knew what I wanted to gain out of these last 2 years of my college experience. So once I got there, I was just like, okay, I got involved in one thing early on, which was the newscast. So I auditioned, I made it. I was like the main anchor for the first audition, and then they put me as the entertainment reporter because that's what I wanted to do. So I thought. So I did that and I networked my butt off. I was so cool with all the professors, but I was really hungry. And I think that's the thing, if you want to be in this space, especially when you're in college, you have to utilize the time that you have on campus to truly make your mark. I knew for a fact that I wanted to build a legacy. I knew that when I got to Hampton, I wanted to be that media girl. I wanted to be the person that people knew for the interviews and making content and things like that. But I mean, I didn't even worry about like, how are people going to know me, because at the time we were all masked up. Everybody had social distance going on. So it didn't feel as difficult for me to really insert myself as a transfer, because everybody was getting accustomed to the new way of living that we were living, not even in quotes, because we really were living like that. So it was easier for me, I feel like, to establish my ground and who I was, because once we were able to stop wearing masks as much and really mingle with each other, it was much easier for me to kind of insert myself and start making content and network with people without feeling like, ooh, they have a friend group already, or oh, they're already cool with each other. I don't know. I was really able to feel embraced by everybody, because everybody was open to the new wave and the new life that we had during the pandemic. So it was much easier for me to navigate, for me personally. But I'm not really a shy person. If I want something, I get it. I'm not nervous to go up to people to ask them to shoot content with me or help me hold a camera, like, at all. So after that, and the reason why I'm telling you guys all of these things is really because I think you have to understand how I literally did all the things that I did, right? So when it came down to my first year being there, I got an opportunity because I was ready. So this is a key thing, guys, is because I was so on top of things with my professors, because I was so involved in the classroom, I was doing extra work, I was asking questions in class. Like, I just genuinely, like, you could tell I was so happy to be there and to be studying journalism at an HBC. Like, I genuinely was just so happy to be in the space. So there came an opportunity where my professor asked me if I wanted to go to this celebrity basketball game that the guys were going to for the basketball team. And I was like, hell yeah. Like, it was like, yeah, I think Michael B. Jordan's hosting. And I'm like, sign me up. I'm there. So that opportunity happened to me when I was 19. That was 2021. And I remember so vividly because I went with, you know, a few other people, a few other guys that they picked, and we all bonded and got super close, and it literally built my confidence. And during the time, it was the first year that that happened. And that was the first time I was ever able to capture a celebrity interview. And I was mind blown because everyone said that Michael B. Jordan wouldn't be doing interviews with anybody because of the pandemic and, you know, safety guidelines or whatever, but I attacked that opportunity like no other. I ran up to him, and I'm gonna insert the clip. I have never shown the clip, but I will show you guys me going up to him and asking him for the interview. It's insane. All right, let's clear the court. So, as you can see, I was hungry. I was not playing. And I think he saw that in my eyes, and we had a great connection. It was the best. And I'm so glad that he gave me that window of opportunity, because it really helped me believe in myself on a totally different stratosphere. So once I did that, when I got back to campus, I started creating content. And I think the main thing that everyone should understand that getting into a broadcasting space or an interviewer space, or you wanting to be looked at as talent and get opportunities, is you really have to create your own lane. I didn't see anybody doing the things that I genuinely wanted to do, and I think I started getting bored of the newscast because I always knew I didn't want to be a local TV news anchor. I didn't want to be doing the weather. I honestly started to even fall out of love of entertainment reporting. I was like, there has to be something else within this space that I love more than this. I just don't like talking about gossip. I don't like trying to do research on who's wearing what. It just did not feel like something I really wanted to do. So the more I started interacting with people on campus and interviewing them, it all started for me by making my own series. I recommend to anybody, if you are trying to just get your foot in the door and trying to just get known or have people see your work, create your own series. That's what I did. I started my own drip check series, and drip check is nothing new on HBCU campuses. Drip checks are known to happen on Howard's campus, on literally any campus you can think of. I just remember seeing those, but I never seen anyone do that at Hampton's campus. So even though it's an idea that's already happened, I made it for my campus, and I started to be that drip check girl that does people's outfits and things like that. And I would collab with pages that already had a bigger following than me, but they were the ones who promoted the drip check outfits and people on campus. So that's how I started to kind of build who I was and get people to understand that, you know, yeah, I'm here and this is the content I make. And people loved it because nobody was doing it. So the thing that you always want to keep in mind is you have to stand out and be unique. Sometimes that means taking an old idea and making it new, or taking a trend and starting it now. That's the thing that I did, and it really helped me just build more genuine relationships on campus with so many new people. So after that, I continued to grow and network with more people. And the thing that I would say more so than ever is, because you're in a field of communications, you have to be a great communicator. So if you're not really that strong in front of the camera, I would say practice speaking in front of the camera. It takes a lot of time to feel comfortable and confident and have that sense of belief in yourself to know that you're not gonna be afraid when the time happens, or you're just not gonna fold when opportunity comes. And naturally, I really do feel like this is my gift. Like, I'm speaking from the heart right now. There's nothing that I have written on paper that I can tell you besides my own personal experience. And everyone's experience is totally different, but that's why I say, if you're not in a place where you feel like I am at the level where I know for a fact I have put in some hours to really master this area of the craft, I would say devote time to really master an area that you know for a fact that you want to be confident in, whether that's reading on the teleprompter, looking at the camera and smiling, how you interact with people and how you interview people, the type of questions, the type of interviewer you want to be. All of those things really play a huge, crucial role in the type of personality that you're going to develop. Also, a major thing too is that, I don't know if you guys peeped throughout my story and my timeline, that I lived in a really small town. And sometimes the thing is, it's your location as well. If you want to be in the mix, you have to go to the mix. You have to go where things are happening. So that experience that I had with Legacy Classic and interviewing Michael B. Jordan for the first time, and actually going to Newark, New Jersey for the first time ever, and leaving campus and getting on the bus with the team and traveling there, was the coolest experience I've ever felt in my life. And I've never been exposed to things like that. So after that, you know, I was a junior, so I was able to have my car on campus, and my family helped me ship my car out. So when there were events happening, I left VA and I went to all those 7 surrounding cities in the VA area. I was in Portsmouth. I would go to Chesapeake. I would go to Newport News. Like, I would go wherever I needed to go to in order to get to certain events and interview people. And I would just go after it. I would never just stay vacant at my school. Now, granted, there was a lot of great people who would directly come to campus because we're one of the greatest HBCUs ever, like, no pun intended. The real HU. So there was a lot of people who naturally just came on campus, right? And I think sometimes people tell you when they're talking about HBCUs and going to HBCUs that celebrities don't come on campus every single day and it's not a fashion show and all that stuff. I can guarantee you just from my own experience, Hampton is a fashion show. Like, people really are dressed to the nines, so it always made me want to step my game up. And celebrities did come frequently. I'll say that's the word. It's not that celebrities come to your campus every single day, but they do come frequently. So I was already in position to where, you know, my first homecoming experience was a COVID experience, but that following year I was on the stage hosting homecoming because I was just being super active and I was asking for opportunities. I nagged our director of student activities so bad to the point where he was like, my God, like, and I'm so grateful. But that's the thing, sometimes people have to see that you truly want it and they have to take a chance on you, but you have to always be ready. Like, he's never seen me host, but I think he's, you know, he saw me interviewing people, he saw me interviewing students and coming out to events and establishing my own brand. And that's the thing that really solidified who I was on campus and helped me as a media personality. So all of the interviews, all of the things that ever happened to me as far as talent was because I put myself in situations where I constantly did research. And to a certain degree, you kind of have to be obsessed with the work and you have to really, really want it. So there's that. I also felt like balancing being a person who was trying to build a name on campus and always get those opportunities to do things, there is a sacrifice that comes with that. There was always people around me that I knew, you know, always supported me, always was willing to help me, but I'm always about business and I always treated college like this is a job. I never treated college just like to play around or to make it seem like I'm here to just do whatever and slack off and stuff like that. Like, I treated college like it was a job. Every single event, I interviewed the players like I was really on ESPN. I had no intention of trying to be a sports journalist, but I wanted the experience. I didn't care where it came from or what I wanted to do, but I genuinely treated every single opportunity like this is my moment. So more opportunities naturally come, but you have to align yourself and be ready. That's the number one thing. Another thing when it comes to communications is, to me now, I think that going to college for a journalism degree is a good idea because, I mean, for me, it worked out, but you don't necessarily need to go. As you guys know, the internet is like, you can start a show or a podcast and just blow up and be gone and successful. TikTokers do it. They're, you know, taking those jobs over and they're successful. But for me, I would say there's no way in hell that if I wouldn't have decided to go to college, get a degree in journalism, and spend that time on campus, meeting people, going through the college experience, becoming disciplined based off of that, seeing what the world had to offer outside of my little hometown and not going to college, it offered me a totally different experience. And also for me, going to an HBCU helped me with connections. The communications industry and the media industry, period, entertainment, period, is all about who you know. And I always used to hear people say, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. But I also heard one of the peers, I don't know if it was one of my professors or someone who came in to speak to us, but sometimes it's also not about who you know, but who knows you. That's what was told to me. And that also really reigns true. But I do feel like the perfect place to build those type of connections where you can rub shoulders with people who are in the industry and talk to people who can help you out at one point or another, or just collaborate with students who are successful and wanting to do more things, is by going to college. So for me, it was a great investment because I picked the right HBCU for me that offered one of the best journalism programs. Their alumni was amazing. And one thing I will say, for me going to an HBCU and studying journalism there, our alumni is crazy. Like, I connected with Rashida Jones. She's one of my mentors, but she's also the president of MSNBC, which is wild. And I can hit her up and ask her questions and talk to her about things, and she's always open arms. And that's how alumni are, you know, they grind and they worked, and you know, they pull the next person up, and I hope to do that for another woman after me or another man after me, you know, as I move up and progress in my career. So it's one of those things where I feel like it's up to you, but for me, based off of, if you don't have any sort of ties or connections, and if you're not really certain about where to start with learning about how to operate a camera, how to interview, how to build your social media, these are all things you can learn on the internet, most definitely. But if you need more structure and you want to interact with people who are doing the same thing and you need more guidance, just go to college. Go to college, get the degree. It's definitely worth it. It was worth it for me. I say do it. Another thing about communications in the school, I would say my senior year taught me a lot. It taught me that, you know, you can do all the work, right? Because I grinded 24/7. Like every single month, there was something new. Every single month for me, I always had something happening. Like I was either applying for something and winning prize money. And that's another thing that benefited me as well, was I was always on top of what's happening. I became an AT&T Rising Future Maker, and that also opened up a whole nother window of opportunities, especially being an HBCU student. So that's why I always say, if you are thinking about going to an HBCU, go. This is your sign. Go. Trust me, you won't regret it. It's the best, especially Hampton. You won't regret it. So a lot of those opportunities, you know, happened because I was in the right place at the right time at the right school that was best for me. So you have to, you know, take that into consideration as well. But I mean, you know, the journalism school at Hampton is, I can't rave about it enough. It was great for me, and it was a great place for me to be so I can flourish. It's just about your priorities and what you want out of it. For me, I want to be one of the biggest media names in the game in like 10, like even 3 to 5 years, like, to be honest. So that was my goal, and my hustle was like, no, I'm doing this for a bigger purpose. Some people don't have their clear purpose in front of them as to why they're doing what they're doing. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint, especially when you're coming in freshman, sophomore. Like when I was a freshman and sophomore at Lincoln, I was just having fun. I was finding myself. I was trying to figure out what did I like, because at first I thought I was gonna be a radio girl in the hip hop lane, and then I thought, oh, E-News, like every other media girl wants to be on E-News, right? So that's what I thought until literally senior year. And I remember I found an internship my senior year that I was going to, and it was a radio station, and I gained a great mentor who taught me a lot, and they helped me realize, like, no, I want to be on TV. I want to have my own, I want to create my own things, because I don't want to do this. Like, it's not going to make me happy in the long run. So you're honestly finding yourself too, but I do think it's you can't, especially if you're really wanting to do this for a career. I really do believe that it is a hard industry, but if you know you're built for it, you will be just fine. And I think it's just about building confidence and learning yourself and finding out how you want to contribute to this huge space, because media is so broad. And you know, there's other things in my career that I want to do later. Like I want to pursue acting at a certain point. I want to do other things, but the focus is what I'm doing now, which is what I genuinely love, which is interviewing and being a host, and hopefully getting more opportunities, which I will in that space. So with building a brand on social media, I was just happy to experience the growth, and I really wasn't worried about the numbers. And I think when I graduated, the shift happened for me, because when I graduated, I didn't have a job, and that's scary. Like, I just graduated 9 months ago, like I said, and you know, I came back home, and sometimes you gotta come home. Sometimes you gotta come home, and that is okay. I feel like people make it seem that when you come home, which I was victim of this, I thought it was gonna be the worst thing to ever happen to me if I had to come back from going to Hampton and come back here and not have anything, even after I did all of these amazing things and I had all these accolades and accomplishments. And it felt like, it honestly felt like a slap in the face, and it felt like imposter syndrome, because it's not that I couldn't work at a local station, I just didn't want to. I knew that was not for me. So you have to also stand grounded on what do you actually want out of this, because if not, you're going to be miserable. And I did not want to be miserable. When I came back home, I started cultivating the podcast. So now the podcast is my new baby. It's something that I've always wanted to do. I started with one, but I didn't really pursue it because I was still finding myself. But now I really know how I want to contribute to the world and what I want my voice to be and how I want to show up online. So I started working on the podcast, and now, you know, the podcast is in a totally different lane, in a totally different space. And if you aren't following, make sure you go follow and subscribe, or if you do subscribe, or just anywhere you get your podcast, I'm there. It was set up for success. But it was very humbling, to say the least, but I kept going. I also applied for things that, you know, I was getting presented. I did an ad for Black Ambition, which is Pharrell's competition. I interviewed him, so I was kind of aware of what it was. But I was like, you know what? Let me apply for this. And I did, and I made it. And it made me sit down and also evaluate what I wanted and have structure and a mission and figure out what those things are. So once I did that and I made it to the semifinals in the competition, I was like, yo, I'm really doing this. Like, I'm really like putting one foot in front of the other and like actually making things happen. So it didn't feel like a failure because I was keeping myself busy, and I had already interviewed at that point, like over the summer, like 10 guests already. I was on top of things, like just literally in my room. And I think some of the time people feel like if they're not in a certain area at a certain time doing certain things, then you're failing. But you're not failing. I truly believe that once you start something where you are and you get your groove and you start figuring things out, then you can expand. It doesn't necessarily have to always be, I have to go here and do this, especially if you don't have a plan. I only will say that if you don't have a plan. If you do, you gotta go. But if you don't, take some time, regroup, recuperate. And that's what I had to do. And it really did help me. And you know, now job-wise, I feel like also there's so many lanes and places in the media industry where you can start. For me, now I'm doing media consulting, which is something that I really, really love to do. And it was the perfect timing, but it was because I had already built the connection and the relationship while I was an undergrad. They actually found me. I wasn't looking for them, but I did follow up with them after I graduated. And, you know, and everything worked out the way it was, and then I ended up getting my job. So the thing is that it is about who you know, because at the same time, like I said, if you don't put yourself out there and you don't, you know, build a brand that you feel proud of, people are not going to really know what to look to you for. Most people, which actually 100% of the people who reach out to me, they know when they reach out to me, who's good at doing interviews, who has that understanding on how to communicate with people and is a great storyteller and is about inspiration. Oh, Sarah Lee, you know what I mean? So it's about also finding out, what do you want to be known for? What do you want people to think of when they think of you? I took a lot of time to actually figure that out, and I reached out to a lot of mentors who I built connections with, and I was very aggressive, and I was like, take my number, like, here, let's connect. And I was always genuine about everything. So I keep a lot of voice memos too of those conversations to listen back on, especially when I feel a little bit lost or just need that extra boost. But those things helped me later on down the line. And that's why I'm saying, if you want to get into this field, you have to understand that there's not a lot of time to mess around. There's not a lot of time to worry about a relationship. There's not a lot of time, to be honest, to go to parties. There's not a lot of time to worry about what other people are doing, because if you're trying to build a successful media brand and become a talent, you really have to put in a lot of work and be original and unique. What made my page grow on my social media was because it was the first time I was ever vulnerable with my audience. They saw me from the very beginning, my very first interview to my very last interview with Ruth E. Carter. And that happened on graduation day. Like, I interviewed the the freaking commencement speaker. I never would have thought. And then on top of that, Oscar winning Ruth E. Carter, like insane. Like I literally watched her behind the scenes on YouTube, like dressing Chadwick Boseman. So it's one of those things too where you just never know where you can land. But if you don't try, you will never know. If you don't put in the work now while you're in college, or even after college immediately, you will never know what's out there for you. So like I said, being vulnerable is also the key to letting people in and getting them to really know you. It took me a while to make this video, but now I'm finally letting go, because I know this is for somebody. Somebody's gonna find this video and see it and say, I needed that. And I hope this resonates with you, and I hope that you find your way, because it is very hard. And I want to chat with you guys and talk to you guys in the comment section about what do you want to do in the media industry. Who's your favorite person in the industry as an interviewer, or how do you want to show up, and who's your dream guest that you want to collaborate with, or who do you want to work with in the future? So let me know, because I feel that it's very lonely in this media space, just because there's a lot of women who are already established and doing their thing. But I definitely want to cultivate a community of men, women, podcasters, hosts, TV personalities, aspiring journalists, all of you guys to come to this space so we can talk and network and connect, and also just uplift each other in this journey. It's not easy, but you can do it, especially if you really want it. So I'm also going to show you guys a lot of my highlights, just because I know a lot of you guys are new here and maybe this is the first time you're ever seeing me and finding my channel. So I'll show you guys a little bit of a timeline of all the great things that can happen if you really do apply yourself and push yourself on this journey. Trust me, if I can do it, you can do it. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys for showing love. Make sure you like this video and comment, like I said, comment down below about who you are, your journey, what you want out of this media space. If you're gonna go to an HBCU, I totally recommend going to Hampton, but if not, you know, it's all on you, girl. But let me know, talk to me, and I will see you guys in the next one.
You won't make it.
Your head is in the clouds. You're delusional. Dreamer!
Get a job!
You're boring.
What if it doesn't work? You think you're better than us? Give up. Weirdo!
I don't like you. You are so weird.
Just give up.